yeah. Love, oh love, love's a wonderful thing when you have it in your heart. Love, oh love, love is patient, love is kind. Gotta do this loving right. L-O-V-E, talking about you and me. Everybody say, can we spread the love the world needs today? Oh yeah, everybody say, oh yeah, love, oh love. Love empowers, love is pure, and we need it more and more. Love, oh love, love is patient, love is kind. Gotta do this loving right. L-O-V-E, L-O-V-E, talking about you and me. Everybody say, can we spread the love? What we need today? Everybody say, can we spread the love? What we need today? L-O-V-E, L-O-V-E, what does it really mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah. L-O-V-E, God's love is perfect for you and me right here, right now, each and every day. Everybody say, yeah, spread love. Let's spread love. Let's spread love.
Good morning, everybody. I hope that everyone is doing well. My name is Tanisha Durant, and I am the CEO and founder of Married to Music Incorporated. We are a group created by musicians, wives, and widows that work hard to strengthen and empower musical families. And today, we just want to welcome you to our first legacy seminar. The Word of God says in Proverbs 13 that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And we just want to give you guys the tools and the resources, right, to build generational wealth. That's the ultimate goal. And so we're excited to present to you today the Wealth Transfer Society. These guys are so knowledgeable, and I am excited to just see what they're going to share with us today. They are both married, they are both musicians, and so you guys sit back, take out your notepads, and let's get into it. Wealth Transfer Society, I'm turning it over to you guys.
Your mic is muted, Wayne. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. You're muted, Wayne. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Now, can you hear us? If you can hear us, put it in the comments. Just say, yeah, I can hear you, or put a 1 in the comments, please. We want to make sure that we can that we are loud and clear and that you get all of this information. Thank you so much. And I have children, so if it gets loud, if I go muted, you'll know why.
Yes, good morning. I'm very excited to have you all. We're excited to, share the information that, that we believe that everybody should know. Musicians, just regular folks should know. This is information that what happens is usually from the beginning, of our scholastic affairs, like, from when we're in primary school, elementary school, um, middle school. They teach us certain things that we don't necessarily need to know. They teach us things that um, are almost like they want to keep us in the service industry. One of the things is that they don't want you to be business owners. They don't want you to uh, control anything. They just want to perpetuate this idea that you got to go to school, you have to go to college, get good grades, get a job, and work for someone. Now, we're not saying there's anything wrong with that, because there are honest people, working very, very hard. But what we're learning is that in addition to that hard work, um, you can begin to start to work smarter and not have to work so hard in the long run. Um, Wayne, I'm just gonna pull up the slide. So if you want to say something really quick.
Yeah, cool. Like I said, I'll probably mute myself. You might see me cover my microphone from time to time while I yell at my kids. So don't take it personal. But ultimately, like David said, the reality is we have not been told everything about money. And I'll ask all of you that. Why? Why is that? Why have we not been told everything about money? What is it that they're trying to hide? What don't they want us to know? And why is it seems so difficult to get access to this information? And what we're about to share with you today is so simple. This is stuff that you guys already have heard of, about. Maybe there's one or two elements that you might not have heard of or don't have a full understanding of, but we're gonna reveal to you some very, very common things in the world, but it's just how they're put together, how they work together. We were just never told, right? All of us have bank accounts for the most part, right? Some people don't because they owe the banks money or whatever. So you got alternative things like Cash App, Chime, and whatever else. But we don't know how these bank accounts work. How are they able to loan money? Because banks legally are not allowed to loan out the money that you put into it, only a certain amount. So there are things about money, about the banking system, about taxes and the whole tax system, the IRS code, uniform commercial code. These are things that we're never told about. So we're going to reveal some of those things to you today and show you, as a musician, as a wife of a musician, or if you're a widow, what we have discovered as musicians is that the artist and the artistry is usually what's promoted, and everybody thinks that we're going to become wealthy because of our artistry. And that is a mistake. You are not going to become wealthy because you're an artist. People who become wealthy in music and arts and the creative arenas they don't become wealthy because of their ability to, their gift or their skill, their ability. They become wealthy because they have good business. You don't get rich just because you have a nice voice. You get rich by having good business. You become wealthy by learning how to turn that gift, that skill, that ability, that talent into an actual business. And when you learn how to do that and learn how to operate a business and learn how money functions and operates in the world, then you'll be able to start to actually build wealth. But what ends up happening again is we get so caught up in our craft, in the artistry, that we don't build a business around it. And so we have to just realize that and start to make some small shifts. And so we're going to break that down and how to do that. So go ahead, Dave. You can share your screen if you want.
All right. Okay. Can everybody see that? I hope so. Wayne, can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So I'd like to start out by saying, just forget what you've been told. We often say that. Um, I hear an echo. Oh, there it is. Okay. Well, I like to start out with by saying, forget what you've been told. Um, and the reason I say that is because we've been programmed to think a certain way. Like Wayne said about money, especially when it comes to particularly when it comes to artists. You're a lot of times we're taught to just think about the art, becoming a better artist, a better musician, a better singer, about presentation. But one of the main points that everybody should pinpoint when they're starting out is the actual business aspect. And then I think that's why many of us struggle with the business aspect when it comes to music. And most of these things are pretty much parallel to whatever area of life you're in, whether it's music or maybe even the insurance business or anything else for that matter, like your own business. If you're maybe selling t-shirts or selling hats, a clothing line, something like that. It's more so a lot of times they say, everybody wants to focus on, the branding or, other things, but the branding is very important, but there's a business aspect. But I like to say, forget what you've been told, because we've been programmed to think a certain way about money. Here's the whole truth. You can't get rich from someone else's money. What happens is, as I stated earlier, most of us are taught to go to school, go to college, get a job. Now, I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong with college, but there are certain aspects of entrepreneurship and running your own private business that college doesn't teach you. And what we're noticing is that it's starting to be deliberate. And what they're doing is they're making college a status symbol rather than the linchpin that can get you to the next height. I heard a guy once say, if you're going to get a job that you can learn to create into your own business so you can make money off of that. He said, you can't get rich from someone else's money. So basically what we like to teach is when you do have a business, you just have to make sure that you're taking the right steps to put things in place so that way you can start investing in making sure that the business is solid enough so that way you can also create assets with it. Excuse me. Here's the second point. Your money can make you money without you lifting a finger. Now, what happens is a lot of people they put their money in, like, let's say a CD account or even some people have 401ks. But the problem with the CDs and the 401ks is that now this can apply to everybody, because I think musicians, again, it's something that as musicians we haven't been taught. Like me as a guitarist, my brother plays bass and drums. Playing for churches, playing for groups, they don't teach you any of this stuff. It's just like, oh, can you come play for me? We'll give you some money. And what's happening is everybody's saying, oh, save your money. But when you're saving your money, it can get stale. You're just dumping it in the bank. It's not really accruing a large amount of interest. Now, when you have like a CD account, it gets interest. Also, your 401k does. But what happens is in these kind of accounts, when you put your money in it, when you want to withdraw money, what ends up happening is you have to pay a penalty, and you also have to pay taxes. So what we can show you how to do that without even having any tax liability. So what I'm saying is that you can make money without you having to lift a finger. And unfortunately, it just goes back to, us not being told, because I'm sure there are a lot of musicians, singers here where, you just get somebody that wants you to sing for them, play for them, and you're helping them out. Their business may be together, but they're just getting they're getting musicians and singers to accompany them without even teaching them the business aspect. Sometimes it's almost like they don't even have time for that. The third point is control is better than ownership. Now, there are a lot of conversations about ownership, ownership. And there is an aspect of ownership that is that needs to be pinpointed. And let's say if someone owns land, like we know a lot of people that own land. They're just like, oh, we have land in North Carolina, Georgia. And I'm just like, okay. And what happens is with that land, you have to be able to control something on it. Now, a lot of people want to preserve things, like they just want to keep it, for their family, keep it in their family as, as something generational. But why do it if it's not building you wealth? Because you can, people can put an apartment complex on your property, and then you could start to generate cash flow by charging them monthly to put an apartment complex or development. Now, I know, like I said, a lot of people don't like to do that. They just like to preserve the nature aspect, but that's one of the things that you can do. So it's one of those things where you own the land and you're controlling what's happening. Like if you look at it, Jeff Bezos, Bill and Melinda Gates, Jeff Bezos was the CEO of Amazon. Even though he didn't own it, he controlled it. He controlled what happens. He controlled what happened in Amazon. And he is separated from that. So that's part of the reason why he doesn't pay taxes, or either it's very low or he doesn't pay any. He probably doesn't pay any. Same thing with Bill and Melinda Gates. They have foundations that they filter everything through. They still have access to the money. They control it. Even if they wanted to buy themselves something, they can use that to which they have access to, and they can make purchases. But what it is that they've separated themselves from that foundation because they're controlling it.
Well, and yeah, here's the reality of it is Nelson D. Rockefeller said the key to success is not ownership, it's control, right? The ultimate key to success is to own nothing and to control everything. And so even as musicians, we have to think about how we phrase things, right? So everybody's fighting over ownership of their rights, ownership of publishing, ownership of this, that, and the third. But ownership is not necessarily what makes you wealthy. Control is. So when you can control what happens to the asset, your music, your gift, your skill, your talent, ability, that is an asset. And you don't necessarily have to own it in order to control what happens with it. And the reason why I say that is because when you are the owner of something, you are personally liable for whatever is going on with that, right? You are the liable party. So if something happens to that thing, you are personally held responsible. Like with a house, a lot of people want to own their homes, and I know in our community and a lot of church communities, African American communities, Latino, brown, we're taught you got to own your home. But I promise you, there are reasons why certain communities don't lose houses to foreclosure, and other communities do. Because they didn't tell you that when you own your home, it can be taken from you. But if you control the rights to the property, if you control the asset that happens to be a house that you just might live in, but you don't own it, they can't take something from you that you do not own. And there are laws that legally protect people from having private property that they control from being taken from them, that cannot be seized. We don't know that. We were never told these things. And so everybody's going around saying, I want to own a home, own a home, own a home. Well, I know a lot of people may not like Donald Trump. I use him as an example because I just have to break down limiting and false and misbeliefs.
That's why I said forget everything that you
got to forget everything
that you've been
Donald
taught.
Trump is a brilliant businessman. Brilliant businessman. But what happens is we've been told so many lies and so many mistruths that we look at him and we think, oh, he's this, he's dumb, he done foreclosed this many businesses and he did this and that. If you don't understand business, then you're going to feel that way. But somebody like myself who's researched business, who understands how money works and flows, I promise you bankruptcy on a business is not the same thing as personal bankruptcy. Go check it out. Donald Trump has never been personally bankrupt. But here, some of us, I mean, I don't know your situations, but there are a whole lot of people I know who are on the brink of personal bankruptcy. Donald Trump has never been personally bankrupt, but he knows the system and he knows how to bankrupt businesses and move assets so he doesn't ever lose a thing. How did he get richer by bankrupting multiple businesses? Well, if you don't know how money works, if you don't know how the business world works, if you don't know how to structure your financial situation, then you're going to think that he did something bad. And then they come out and say, oh, Donald Trump only paid $750 in taxes. Like, if you understood how taxes work, you'd be doing the same thing as Donald Trump. So please, I'm not here advocating anything politically or anything like that. Please don't hear what I'm not saying. But we have been told misinformation. We have been given limiting beliefs that have caused us to hold on to mindsets that are detrimental to us. And so when we start to learn these new things, learn the new way of how money operates, we start to see things and people in a very different light. We start to see people like Warren Buffett, who talks about how he pays less taxes than his secretary, who works for him. How is that possible? Because he understands the rules of the game. He knows how the laws work, and he knows how to make them work in his favor. So they used to have a saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. Well, I say learn the game and play it better than everybody else. Learn the game. Don't hate the game, learn it. Some people want to see it tear down. That's your prerogative. I'm saying learn it and use it for how it's available, because now we have the information, and that's why we're here. We're here spreading the information, sharing with you these things, because we have to first, let's be real, you can't unlearn something, what you've been taught, but you can be given new truths and you can be shown a new reality. And that's what we hope to do for you, is to impart into you new truths, so that way you can receive a new reality. And once you do that, it will bring into context what you were told, like money doesn't grow on trees and time is money and all these things. Those actually create limiting beliefs, because time is not money. Time is time, and you can never get time back, but you can always create and make more money. So time and money are not the same. See, a limiting belief. So we think because we say time is money, well, time is limited. We only have a certain amount. In that same mindset, you're also saying money is limited. If time is limited, money is also limited. So we can only have but so much money. Make sense? So we don't realize that these things are actually happening to us, and we're being programmed by being told these things. But that's actually what's happening. So it creates limiting mindsets and beliefs based on misinformation or someone else's information. They just said money don't grow on trees, and money don't come easy. It's hard to come by. You got to work hard. All of these things that we've been told and programmed have kept us from actually seeing money the way it should be seen. It is just literally a medium of exchange. It has no value. You are the value. Your gift, your voice, your skill, that is the value. When you learn how to commoditize and turn that value into currency, then you win the game. But you can't do that if you think money is hard to come by and I got to hustle and grind all the time. That's not the case. Because I know millionaires, multimillionaires, who don't hustle and grind. Who don't hustle and grind. They allowed their money to make them money. They allowed their value to become commoditized, so that way people pay them for their value, not their time. Because I promise you, we do seminars like this where we give out maybe a little bit more information than what we'll give out today, but I can easily make $1,000 in an hour and have 6 or 7 people on a call and make $1,000 or $2,000 per person, $5,000 per person for an hour. That has nothing to do with time. That's based on the value that I bring and learning how to position my value in such a way that people will pay me what I'm worth. This is what we as a community, as people, need to see, especially as musicians, artists, singers. The music world is very, very different. It's very eclectic. There's a lot of different avenues and ways things can go. But the ones who are the most successful, who actually build legacies, are the ones who have businesses. That have real legit businesses. So you can share the screen again, Dave. I just wanted to throw that in there for you guys because our mindset has to be clear, you know. And so we have turned people who are not our enemies into our enemies because we don't have understanding, and we think that we're righteous in our indignation, but we're actually righteous in ourself, which is self-righteousness. And so we think we're better than someone because they did this, they did that, they didn't do that.
Right.
We have to let go of these things and let go of these people because these people did nothing wrong to us. But we hold them in contempt because they have understanding that we don't. So why don't we get the understanding that they have and understand them and why they move the way they do, not just look at what they're doing.
Right.
So control is definitely better than ownership. And Nelson D. Rockefeller, one of the richest men that lived as far as his assets are concerned, even his family now. They have a foundation and the family trust that takes care of, I think it's like 260 family members. They all have houses and property and land, and it is still taking care of them. 260 of his descendants are well taken care of because he understood the object is to own nothing and control everything. This is the guy who actually started the Chase Bank. JP Morgan worked with all these guys. He started Chase Bank, though. Chase is his bank. And we're going to talk about how to create your own bank, actually, how to become your own bank within your family in a few minutes here. And then, and you can operate in a world or operate in a personal tax-free world, meaning, I'll put it to you this way. All money is not taxable. Just because you received money doesn't mean that you are taxable. And we're going to get into that quite a bit more as we go through this presentation. Yeah, but all money is not taxable. There is only one, as far as a person is concerned, you, I, an artist, you are taxed on what they call income or profit. That's it, right? Income or profit. And so when you own something, like you're an employee of a job, you get income. That paycheck goes to your name. So you get charged income tax. If you own a business, you own a business, and that business makes money, you are responsible for paying profit on the tax on the profit. You're responsible for paying taxes on employees. You're responsible for paying use taxes. All these type of taxes. Well, there is a way that all of these ultra rich people know how to operate where they don't have to pay taxes. Like I said, like Donald Trump, where he paid only $750 in taxes is not because he did something illegal. It's because he knows the tax law. And when you learn the tax law and learn how to use it to your benefit, you'd be surprised to know how many of these ultra wealthy elite people do not pay taxes. And so, y'all, listen, politicians lie. I don't care who you voted for. They all lie. Yes, Donald Trump lies about stuff. But Joe Biden lies about stuff. And they talk about taxing the wealthy and the rich. They're not taxing the wealthy and the rich because the wealthy and the rich don't own money. They don't have money. They have assets. They have value. They have control. So none of their money gets taken. You know who's getting taken over is what we call the upper middle class and the middle class. That's who's going to get taxed, not the ultra wealthy and not the rich, because they don't have their money in bank accounts. They're not getting paychecks. I need y'all to understand this very, very, very clearly. They operate in money very differently than we do. And so what we were able to do is connect with some people like lawyers and accountants and people who were very well versed in money, who taught us, who taught us how things operate, who taught us how to handle ourselves in court. I paid a lawyer to teach me how to file a lawsuit myself, so I didn't have to hire a lawyer. How to defend myself in court, not represent myself. So these are all things that we have to really understand. And so as we go through this presentation,
a lot of it just has to do with wordplay. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, it has everything to do with wordplay. It's all about words. You have to know what they mean when they say them. And so I hope this is helping somebody just a little bit. If this is helping you a little bit, giving you some perspective, just put a 1 in the comments. I'd love to see some 1s come through. Go ahead, Dave. Go to the slides. Next slide. Oh, yeah, and all taxes are voluntary. I promise you that.
Yep, in the Internal Revenue Code, it states that that taxes are completely voluntary. Now, listen, we could give you a prize of $100,000 if any of you can tell us why we should have to pay taxes. I'm kidding about the prize, but I wish that we could meet one person that could tell us why you have to pay taxes.
They can't. There is no law saying that anybody has to pay taxes anywhere. There is no law saying that.
Right.
However,
and
the
most
IRS
of us,
code is written to trick people and trap people into thinking that they have to pay taxes.
Right.
So we
and
study.
The thing is, we use our hard-earned money on paying taxes. We go to work. A lot of us do back-breaking work, working, 12-hour, 16-hour shifts, doing doubles, and you look at your paycheck, and the government is taking 30% of it. So that's one thing to look out for. And one thing we want to do is we want to encourage people to do their own research as well. Because if you do your own research, you're going to have an aha moment. Now you're going to have to do some digging, because everything is not going to be at your disposal. Excuse me. Being that the way Google configures their algorithms, certain things they won't even allow you to search. So you're going to have to do some digging.
Absolutely. And so what we're going to do is show you, like we said, welcome to the Kinetic Cash Flow Blueprint. Typically we do this in a 1-day workshop, like it's actually a day. We do 3 hours, 4 hours. One time we did 6 hours. I'll never do that again. But it talks about the 5 elements of kinetic banking. And so I want you to see this circle right here in the middle of the screen, where it has these 5 elements, right? And there are 5 elements to what we call kinetic banking or kinetic cash flow. And so now you'd have to just do like a full screen or something like that, but don't worry about it, Dave. So I would like you to imagine the outside of the circle, right? There's a circle that you see, these 5 points. The outside of that circle, I want you to see that as wisdom, okay? Outside of the circle is wisdom. Until you understand or have wisdom about these 5 elements, they're not going to make sense. So if you can make a circle on the outside, that's wisdom. The circle on the inside is where you'll find wealth. When you can have access to wisdom, the wisdom of the ages, the wisdom of the wealthy and the elite, when you have access to this wisdom, in the center of that is your key to wealth. Okay? I need you to get that. So wisdom and wealth, that's how you're going to build your family legacies, is by gaining wisdom that leads to wealth. Next slide. Go for it, Dave.
5 elements of kinetic cash flow, banking, and economics. I want to start off with cash flow. You don't need multiple streams of income. That's part of something that we have to be reprogrammed with. We can teach you how to have cash flow, but not necessarily have multiple streams of income. We have to get out of the hustler mentality. I know it's very, very difficult for many of us, especially in our community. We're taught to just hustle. Like I know musicians that are literally playing at 4 and 5 churches on a Sunday. And then during the week, they're going to, 2 services, and then they're doing gigs. and then you go to the secular world where the secular jobs rather. You got somebody who's working a 9 to 5 and then they get off and they're working overnight. Like it's a hustler's mentality. And at some point you have to think to yourself, when can I start working smarter and not harder? And this is where we begin. So you don't need multiple streams of income. You need multiple streams of cash flow. Now, we use cash flow instead of income because income suggests that you are liable to pay taxes. However, when you have cash flow, you do not need to pay taxes on cash flow, because income suggests that you're in the system with the feds and they can just tax your money. So when you look at a paycheck, there are even churches that tax musicians. So let's say if a musician is getting $350 on a Sunday, they tax it, they might get $325. And over the course of a year, that adds up to be a lot. And it's a major cut down from your pay. So, and then on top of that, if you're tithing and it gets lower and lower. I mean, obviously, God is supposed to get his, but at the same time, you're paying everybody else as well. So, the amount starts to get lower and lower. So you have to have multiple streams of cash flow, because you can tax income. You can't tax cash flow. And as we stated before, taxes are completely voluntary.
And so this is how it's voluntary. When you say that you have income, you are voluntarily saying that you are taxable. Whether you know that or not, that's how the words work. When you say that you have received income, you are saying that you are now liable for tax, and you have volunteered in the tax system. You have volunteered for it by saying, I have income. But when you are in control of a cash flow, we call it sort of like warehousing, right? We have a warehouse where you funnel all cash into, and then from there it goes out to wherever, and it never comes to you. It never comes to your person, who you are as an individual. Then you can actually start to see some very, very, very interesting things happen with money. Because now money becomes much less a liability for you, but you become now the master of it. Now, instead of you being under the control of the money and having to always, okay, I got to do this and I got to do that. Now you become the master of money, and you can tell it where to go and how to grow and so on and so forth.
Right. Me personally right now, for the ministry that I serve at, I have them write the checks to my trust. And even at my, secular job, I'm having, all of the funds deposited into my trust. Therefore, I have no my trust, which has an trust account attached to it. Therefore, I have no tax liability. Next is credit. Excuse me. Credit is a very underrated commodity that we have. Okay, it doesn't matter what exchange of currency is going on. Credit will always be credit. Let's just say 15, 20 years in the future, everybody's using cryptocurrency. Guess what? You're still going to have crypto credit. It's still going to have that dollar sign in front of it. So we underestimate it. Credit is very, very, very strong. And it's not one of those things. I see people bragging and boasting, saying, oh, I have an 800 credit score. I'm like, okay. So are you using that to your advantage? Buying a house only is not using that 800 credit score to your advantage. You could literally be getting, firstly, you have no tax liability on credit. Secondly, if you can see that right here, free money. It's pretty much free money. Understanding that you do have to pay it back, but you get it for free and you don't have to pay any taxes on it. So like I said a few moments ago, there are a lot of folks that I know brag about having a credit, a great credit score. And it's great. because now you can use that to your leverage. But most of those people, they don't know how to use it to their leverage. Okay, that's nice. You bought a house. Okay, you bought a car. You bought a car, which is a 100% a liability. We may talk about that, because when you buy new vehicles, unless you're paying on principal every month, and we're talking about a lot of money on principal, you can at the end of the loan, you can end up paying almost triple the value. And then what they try to do is they try to dupe you into trading in. And they say trading is one of the worst things that you can do, because you end up paying even more money, even though they're supposedly taking away the negative equity, if there is any. It's still piling up what you owe. So credit has no tax liability, and it is free money. Credit can be used so tactfully, it's not even funny. And you can also buy credit. Now, there are some folks, everybody is not on the same credit score level, and we understand that. But you can actually buy credit. What I've even done for myself is I've purchased what we call a secured credit card. Some people know about it, some people don't. I've purchased a few secured credit cards. And what that does is that notifies the lenders that you're willing to take the risk and bet on yourself. So they notify the credit bureaus, and then your score will shoot up tremendously, exponentially. Your score, if you open up about 2 or 3 secured credit cards and your score is relatively low, it'll go up between 50 and 60 points. And it'll work wonders for you.
I've seen 100 points.
Yeah, we've seen 100 points. I've seen 67 points. Yeah. So that's the beauty of credit. And what most people don't know is they don't really know how to use it. The whole point of credit is to have a lot of it, but use it like you don't need it. Because if you use it like you don't need it, then the lenders say, okay, he's not a liability. So now we can offer him more credit. So you'll start getting pre-approvals in the mail. You'll start getting pre-approvals for loans and credit cards in the mail. And then you could really build, realistically, if you do it right, you can live off of credit. We know somebody that lives off of credit, literally lives off of credit. And a lot of people, they don't want to think that this is what we call working smarter and not harder. You don't have to hustle if you know. Like, I don't blame the people that are hustling and grinding. I commend them. And it hurts our heart to see that people still aren't learning or are unable to learn what we've learned, because you have people that are literally just working day and night. It's taking a toll on their bodies. It's taking a toll on their families. So credit is something that you can literally live off of. If you know how to do that, we can show you how to do that as well. Credit is something that you can literally live off of. The next step that we're talking about is assets. Credit can be a major asset.
I'm going to give y'all a scenario. Okay, so we said free money, right? So what if you were able to go get about $100,000 in credit, purchase something that is going to produce you, say, $500,000 over the next 5 years? That's how you use credit. What people end up doing is getting credit cards to buy sneakers and purses and clothes and vacations and things that don't actually create more money. That's not how you use credit. So there's Grant Cardone says, you don't spend the money you earn. Spend the money your money earns. Don't spend the money you earn. Spend the money your money earns that you didn't have to work for, right? So if you go and get $100,000 in credit or $200,000 in credit, buying a building, say you buy a multifamily unit, that's called using credit smart. And that is free money that somebody's giving to you, right? And so now as you have tenants come in, you have people that are paying you for the use of whatever that thing is you purchased with credit, you can pay that credit off and have a profit. You make more money. right? That's the money you spend, the money that your money makes for you. You don't spend what you go to work for. You go to work to buy assets that produce more money. That's how the ultra wealthy do it. And so what happens is, if you do it properly, if you do this well, if you have a well thought out plan, what will happen is, in a short amount of time, the assets that you've purchased with the money that you've earned is now producing enough money for you to quit the job, to quit that thing that you're working on. And now it's just your money is making more money for you, and that's how you get to live. But you have to have the right plan. You have to have the right pieces. And that's why we have these 5 elements. So we're going over them now.
And you have to be willing. You have to have the right mindset. You have to be willing to do that, because
period, man.
What'll happen is you'll have people around you. Like, we literally have people calling us crazy and, saying that this stuff is a scam. This is not a scam. Even we paid a lot of money to learn this information, to garner this information. We've done a lot of research. There was a point in time where I was literally going to a law library, doing research, trying to figure this stuff out, because I was determined. I had this determination to find out there's got to be a better way. So that's why I always encourage people to do research on your own as well. Like, the information that we're giving you, you can take that with you as the foundation, and as something additional, you can also, do your own research. But we have people calling it, saying that this is a scam, or not necessarily a scam, but it's just unbelievable. They
can't believe that this is actually like
they refuse to believe it. And all of this stuff is literally documented. Like, this is not made up stuff. This is all documented.
Yeah, and all we did was did the research. We did the research.
Right.
We took the time, and so like we said, okay, so number 2 is credit, right? You use credit to buy assets. This is what people don't understand. You don't use your own money to buy assets. You use credit to buy assets, and then you allow the profit and the money that money earns to pay off the credit and to fund your lifestyle. So you don't do that with your job. You don't do that with your work. This is why Warren Buffett owns many companies, but one of them that he owns is Geico. He bought an insurance company, right? Because people need insurance, so he will always pay for it. He will always have a steady stream of income, or cash flow, excuse me. That cash flow from Geico funds every other investment he has. So he doesn't have to make any money himself. He has a business that has cash flow, that he uses that cash flow from Geico to fund every other investment. That's how he became a multi-billionaire. That's how Bill Gates has become a multi-billionaire. He had Microsoft, one company that generated cash flow that created opportunity for him to purchase other assets. He purchased other businesses, he purchased this and that, and so on and so forth. Now, whether or not you like him or not is not a matter. It's the fact of the system works. And they understand that they have these 5 things. They understand how credit works. So they use their credit to purchase houses. Then they use the cash flow from a job that they're not working. It's a business that they control the assets of, is paying off that house.
Right. And what we encourage people to do is try not to look at the person. Look at what they are doing. They are doing something right. I'm not going to look at somebody that I don't particularly agree with their lifestyle or some of the things that they do, but I'm like, man, they're doing this right. And it's within the confines of the law.
Right. Because people think automatically if they got ultra rich is because they had to step on somebody's back or step on somebody's head. They had to do somebody dirty. That's not the case. In some cases, it is. We know that. It happens. People do people dirty to try to get ahead, but they don't ultimately win in the end.
Right, and then with the wealthiest families in America, like you said, like the Rothschilds and everything, they didn't do it. They didn't step on any necks to get there. I mean,
they do it now maybe because they got the money, but
they got the money. Yeah.
But the point of the matter is that's not how they got wealthy. They created systems that enabled them to generate more money than everybody else in the same amount of time. without having to work more, without having to expend more energy, they found and devised and uncovered ways that made their money work for them. So that way they didn't have to work for their money. And that's how we have to get into our mindset. So when you purchase assets with credit, if you have what they call disposable income, or they call discretionary income or cash flow, you can also use that as well. Like if your bills are paid and you have stuff extra, don't save money. I'm telling you right now, do not save money. Do not put it in a savings bank. Do not put it into a CD account. Those things are not good options for generating revenue and saving money. Poor people save money. Rich people invest money.
Right. Oh, not to cut you off. I just had a quick thought. It escaped me before, but it came back. I always say there are two types of people. Two types of people that the mainstream has created: spenders and savers. Largely spenders and savers. And what ends up happening is the spenders and the savers end up being in the same situation anyway. Because let's say the spenders, every time they get money, they're buying clothes, they're buying material things. Even though the savers are saving, let's say if something, let's say if something comes up to where you have $5,000 saved and you have to make a big purchase, guess what? You're back to square one because that money was just sitting like stale water. It wasn't moving. So spenders and savers, you got to be careful because people say, oh, save your money, save your money. I know a lot of people that save money, but when something tragic happens, guess what? All of that money's gone. You're back to square one, just like a spender is. So there's two types of people, spenders and savers. And like my brother said, the rich folk, they invest. But with generally common folks, I mean, I don't see us as common folks, the folks that are on this. I believe that we are all like-minded people, and I appreciate that you all want to learn this information. But
absolutely
right. So I see us as that. But in the general sense, you have two types of people. Just think about it. There are spenders and you have savers.
That's it. And then you have the ultra elite wealthy who understand that they don't spend their own money. They use other people's money, and they learn how to invest other people's money to make them money. That's the name of the game. And so they don't spend, they don't buy, they don't do all that stuff. Take savings account money and put it into the market. Yes and no. Deshaun, that's a good comment. I like that one. Put that on the screen, please. Deshaun Robinson said, take that savings account money and put it into the market or into crypto. Yes and no. There is a way to do it, and we're going to explain that very, very shortly. We're going to move forward because we'll talk about these next two things. But the reason why I say yes and no is you don't remember that other quote is let the money that you make, or the money that your money earns, that's what you invest into crypto and the market. Do not go to work a job and take that money and put it into the market, because the market is volatile. You can lose that money. That's no different than saving. You don't take your hard-earned money and go buy cryptocurrency. That's not the way to do that.
What we call that kind of currency when it comes to the stock market. Sorry, not to cut you off again. I didn't want to forget.
It's okay. I love you, bro.
I'm sorry, y'all. I love you too, man. That's what's called fiat currency. Okay, like when you're investing in stocks and crypto, it's called fiat currency. You can literally wake up one day, and the $1,000 that you invested can all of a sudden be worth $100. So that's why he's saying take the money that your money makes and put that into investments.
Right, because you still have your money. You don't take the dollar. You go to work 40 hours, and you might get $500. You pay your bills or whatever else. Say you got $100 left. Okay, now I want to do something with this money. So what people end up doing is they go buy $100 worth of crypto or something like that. Now, right now, there's a crypto, it's booming. But I promise you, like any other market, it's going to bust at some point. And there are people who have a lot of money in crypto that if it busts, they lose everything. I just read an article about a guy, I forgot his name, Hwang something. He was related to some church group or whatever else. They were investing in a lot of new technologies and biotech and whatever else. But the guy had almost $20 million worth of like liquid equity money in the market. And in 2 days, $20 billion, he lost it all in 2 days. 2 days. Now I want to be very clear about this. Everybody who has money does not have a wealthy mindset. They may have made good business decisions, was in the right place at the right time, just so happened to have money in something and it blew up. But that doesn't mean that they learned these principles, these 5 key elements. They didn't learn them. So they have their money in the market and all that kind of stuff. And then what happens is if the market crashes, if a particular stock drops, guess what? They lose everything. And they don't have any money somewhere else. So that's why I tell people don't invest directly into the market or directly into crypto. Because if Bitcoin were to burst right now, it would create its own recession and Great Depression. Because there are people who have hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars into Bitcoin that if it crashed, they would lose it all. I actually have a friend who got locked out of his again, remember we talked about control, not ownership. He owns a lot of Bitcoin, and right now it's over $2.5 million worth of Bitcoin. But he cannot access it because he lost his password. He forgot where, he lost it, forgot it, whatever else. He cannot get access to his Bitcoin. So he owns that Bitcoin and cannot get it because he doesn't control the platform. He doesn't control where it is. So again, these things are not like, I teach people we teach them very clearly. Crypto and the market are good things to invest in, but you have to invest in them properly. Do not take your paycheck. Do not take a royalty check. If you are a musician who's getting paid from publishing and royalties, do not take that invested in the market. Don't do it. Okay? We're going to tell you right now, actually, I'm going to skip a step. We're going to tell you right now where to put that money and how to make that money work for you so that way you can invest the money that your money earns. So we're going to skip over to whole life insurance because, oh yeah, he said, I never said paycheck. Okay, good. Then you're correct, sir. Then you are correct. But that's why I said yes and no. It is still a good thing to invest in, but there is a way to do it properly where your money will be growing twice. And that way, if one goes away, you still have the other there, right? And this is why we talk much about whole life insurance policy. A whole life insurance policy is it's like the ninth wonder of the world. In fact, Albert Einstein said that. The 8th wonder of the world is compound interest. Either you're paying it or you're earning it. Those are the only 2 things that you have. It's compound interest. So what happens with a whole life insurance policy, and I tell every musician needs to have this. Every musician, every singer, anybody who's an artist needs to have what we call a whole life insurance policy. But there are specific types of whole life insurance policies that you need to look into, you need to have. If you need the information, by all means, we can get it to you. It is called a dividend paying or a dividend earning whole life policy. First of all, it is tax-free. So whatever money you put into there, when you get money out of it, and I'll explain to you how it works a little bit, but when you take money out of it, it's not taxable. There's no fee. So like with an IRA, you get taxed and a penalty and fee. So you got to pay money to take your own money out of the IRA.
Right,
Same
like
thing with the
before,
401k.
CD, 401k.
I'm going to explain to you right now why not term. A dividend earning or paying life insurance policy is, like I said, the 8th wonder of the world. I say that because it is the only type of policy that guarantees you a dividend at the end of every month. Nope. Thank you, Deshaun. Put Deshaun's comment on the screen. He got it. He said, because term doesn't accrue compound interest for you to make money from.
Deshaun looks like he needs to be presenting with us.
Yeah,
bro.
man. You on your stuff, sir? Yes,
Join
sir.
the team.
He said, but I'm sure they'll explain. There you go. But that's exactly why. Out. Get out of the room.
Wait, he has too much knowledge to be on here. You with the feds, Deshaun? No, I'm kidding.
No. This is good stuff, though. He said because term life or term insurance does not accrue compound interest for you to make money from. So here's how a dividend paying whole life insurance policy works. You take your money that you earn from your job and you put it into a life insurance policy. You don't pay your bills yet. You don't invest in anything. You put it into your life insurance policy. Now, I know this is not how the average person thinks of life insurance, but there's a concept. You can look it up. The guy's name is R. Nelson Nash. He came up with something called the infinite banking concept. You can go and check it out. That's not something that we created. We created what we call the kinetic cash flow system that involves his infinite banking concept. And basically, you can turn your life insurance policy, your dividend paying whole life insurance policy, into your own bank.
Literally.
That you own. Literally. I love it. I love it, Deshaun. Good stuff. That's what we need, though. We need more people who are going to do research on their own. He said, just been researching the last couple of years. I'm learning from y'all too, though. Loving this. You on target, brother. Keep going. Keep digging. So here's how this works. Most people get life insurance and they have a death benefit, right? That death benefit means what the life insurance policy pays out when you die. That's how they view it, and so they pay the bare minimum. They put in that $200 a month, $150 a month, or whatever, so they can have that $500,000, the $1 million, $2 million death benefit, whatever. So how they view life insurance is, I'm going to pay in this until I die, and then when I die, they're going to pay out my benefit to my beneficiaries and whatever else. And so that's I'll put it to you this way. That's the lesser way of using life insurance.
Right. I always say through my lens, life insurance should be for your life.
It was always intended to be that way.
Right. It should be for your life.
It was not meant to be just a death benefit, but we are not taught how these other people use it. So what they do, because in a dividend earning or a dividend paying whole life insurance policy, you can get what's called a guaranteed minimum, where most of these policies will pay a guaranteed minimum of 4%. Listen, guys, the average savings account is going to give you like 1% tops. If you can get yourself into a good IRA, you'll get 9%, 10%, 12%, but that money's not liquid, right? Absolutely it is. We're going to show you this. Like, it's so crazy, but you need all 5 of these things. You don't think you can just go get one and everything's going to be solved. We found out, like, the system that we put together is when you have all 5 of these pieces in place, it creates a plethora of opportunities for you that nothing else will. And like I said, we're sharing this information because we found it. And we found it to be very valuable. But there are wealthy people who live like this. This is what they do. This is why they don't work. This is why their kids don't work, and their grandkids and their great-grands, and they still have property and houses and land and all kinds of stuff. And a lot of us don't. So what happens with this policy is every dollar that goes into this policy will earn 4% minimum, guaranteed. Now, just like an IRA or a high market account, if the market is doing good, that goes up. So at times, your policy can be earning 9, 10, 11, 12%. On every dollar you invest. Compound interest, folks. That's not like APR over a year. This is every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year. 4% interest is being compounded nonstop. So every single dollar you put into that is going to generate that 4%. Minimum. I need you to be very clear on that. That's a minimum, at a minimum. Guaranteed money. And with a dividend-paying whole life insurance policy, that money that you put into that policy is liquid money, meaning is not tied up in assets. It is not tied up in the market anywhere where you got to sell some to get money from. You can borrow against the cash value of your policy.
Tax-free.
And yes, that's what I was going to say. The money that you borrow is tax-free. And on top of that, there are no penalties or fees. So you literally have a bank account that pays you 4% interest on every dollar that you deposit into this account, that you can borrow and take out of at any time for any reason without question. It is liquid money, cash. just like you put it into a savings or a checking account. That's how powerful this type of policy is. There's a few of them that do this. You got to do some research. And if you want, like I said, we'll work with you guys to give you some names and what areas, and let me know. Like if you'll let us know where y'all are, we may be able to connect y'all with some people in those regions to get you set up with the right kind of companies. But the type of insurance company is actually a mutual company, right? This is not a general company. This is a policyholder owned mutual life company. They're the only ones that do these type of policies. So you got to find somebody who has contracts with those life insurance companies, which we are actually in the process of getting. We have some contracts that we're in the process of getting ourselves, connecting with these companies. Oh yeah, we'll hook you up, Brooklyn. Yeah, we got a whole thing we setting up right here for New York, man. It's gonna be wild and crazy. But let me get back to explaining this. We'll talk about some of that in a little bit. And I don't want us to go forever and ever. We wanted to make sure you guys had good information. Like we wanted to give you some good meat. So this whole life insurance policy, you can borrow money from for anything. So now, if you want to buy an asset, guess what? This is how you buy an asset. If you're not going to use credit, you put your money into a whole life insurance policy. So say you have an IRA or 401k. You can transfer all of that money into a whole life insurance policy and then immediately borrow that money. Here's the kicker, guys. It never changes the value or the cash value of the account. So every single dollar that you put in there, regardless to what you borrow, your cash value never drops. So you're earning interest always on the highest dollar value. I'm going to say it again. You're always earning interest on the highest dollar value. So there are some people who save money, right? If you're one of those savers or spenders, here's the thing. Savers save up $25,000 to go buy a car because they don't want payments. Well, here's what you do. Take that $25,000, put it into a life insurance policy, and then borrow the money to buy the car. And now you can pay the payments back to your own bank, your life insurance policy. And your all interest you're paying yourself. It goes back into your account. This is how people buy these expensive things. You can actually do this with homes. I know I have people who I'm connected with who are using this for real estate investment. They have an account that has $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 in cash value in it because they used their credit and whatever else to fund their life insurance policy. That policy is now earning a minimum 4% on $700,000 and something thousand every single day, week, month, and year. Every single dollar they put in there is earning more money. And so what they can do is borrow from that account, buy a house, put somebody in the house, and then have that residual income coming in to pay off the loan. Here's the absolute crazy part of these policies. If you don't pay back the loan, it doesn't matter. You have an option not to pay back the loan.
Yeah, you can pay it back
any
when
of the
you want.
loans. Huh?
You can pay it back when you want.
You can pay it back when you want or not. And the thing about it is, I'll explain why. Because there's still that account called the death benefit that is just sitting there collecting and earning and doing whatever. You have your cash value in the account. So what happens is if you take out that money, all they'll do is when you die or when you pass away, whatever, how, God forbid, anytime soon, but when that happens, when they pay out your death benefit, they just take out what you borrowed and then the rest get dispersed. So say you bought a home for your family with your cash value and you put it into the next part we're going to talk about is the trusts. When that house, you can not pay that mortgage. You can have that house now scot-free because you have put the money in your account, not have a mortgage, and it's all in your life insurance policy. Well, when you pass away, they just pay off that loan, and then your family still gets the rest of the money. Or your trust gets the rest of the money. So that's why we call it having your own bank account. This is private banking. This is what the ultra elite and wealthy do. They let those life insurance policies make money for them.
Right. And just like the Rothschilds, every time somebody dies, they actually get richer.
Yep, because they have
Well,
life
actually,
insurance policies on
their
everybody.
estate gets richer. Their their trust.
Their estate, their trusts,
Yeah.
and their foundations get richer.
Right.
Because they have life insurance policies on everybody. So every time someone dies, they just make money.
And
we don't even think like that.
every time somebody's born, they put them
They
on
put
a
a policy. So now when they turn 18 and 19 and 20 and they want to go to college and buy a house or whatever else, they don't have to worry about paying for college. They don't have to worry about paying for weddings. They don't have to worry about buying them
they
houses.
do have to pay for college because that's what the elite are doing. They're paying to get. I'm kidding, but
I'm just saying though, like,
Nah, I know what you mean. they paying for it. Trust me. That's how they're getting in these Ivy Leagues. But I'm kidding.
but the fact of the matter is they have the money. It's
right?
already
Yeah,
in
they
an
have
account.
the money. Right,
It's
already
saved up.
there.
They're not. It accrued. They just put a little money in there every single week or month or whatever for 18 years. And by the time the kid is 18 years old, they got a couple $100,000 in a life insurance policy. Folks, this is not hard to do. We just were never told that this is what we could do.
And you don't have to be rich to do this stuff.
No.
Just imagine, a musician or somebody just with a regular job. Like, let's say if a musician is making, $500 a week, from playing at a church or something like that. You could put that $500 into the insurance policy weekly, and then when you want to pay your bills, you could borrow from yourself. But remember, the compound interest, is still adding up on the highest amount that you placed in the
So
account.
after 4 weeks, putting $500 in there, you'll have $2,000 that is now earning interest. And in the next month, you'll have $4,000. But not only $4,000 that's earning interest, but you'll have what your money had, the interest that you've earned is now earning interest. That's why it's called compound interest. So your $2,000 turns into maybe say, okay, $2,050. Well, then you do the same thing next month. You put in $2,000 in a month, but now at the end of the month, it's $4,000 or $4,100 or $4,200. I'm not trying to give you actual numbers, but I'm just trying to make a point here. So every month you put money in there, it just keeps growing interest on the money that you put in. And then if you decide to take that money out, it doesn't affect what you put it in, what you put into that policy.
Right, and you can even take out a loan. Let's say if you have a $50,000 loan, guess what? You put that $50,000 loan. These types of policies, they allow you to withdraw between 80 and 85% of cash value. So
or more, it depends.
Yeah, or
it depends
more.
on how much you have in the account. But like,
right,
between
let's say
$50,000 and $100,000, you can
Yeah.
borrow like 90% of the money that you put into the account.
Right. So if you get a $50,000 loan, and then let's say you pay $30,000 of it back, you could actually just borrow it from yourself, use the interest that is accruing to pay the rest of it back, and then you can just keep perpetuating getting more loans, because remember, the highest amount is accruing interest.
So you can use credit to
Credit,
fund
loans, right.
a whole life policy
Right.
that you can borrow the money from and pay off the credit, so that you're still building credit and you have the money over here just building interest. Now you're talking about free money, guys. Nobody taught us this part. We figured this stuff out. Like, we were like, wait a minute. So you can do this and you can do this. Like, we're telling you secrets that we discovered. So
I'm glad I found this, because I was working on a concept where I was saying there's got to be a way you can use your credit cards to pay your credit cards, but I think I'm gonna dump that in the garbage, because this is a better way to do it. I mean, you can use. I figured out a way you can use your credit cards to pay your credit cards, but why do that when we have the insurance policy?
right, that's actually earning you interest. So it's paying you every dollar you're getting paid. Why would you not put money into that account? Guaranteed. Doesn't matter if the market drops or whatever else, guaranteed minimum 4%. So to me, that's absolutely a no-brainer, right? And the reason why we have the next element would be the trust. And a trust is basically just this. A trust is a way to warehouse money and assets. So that's why we put asset protection and tax avoidance. So say you're working, you have a job, you have a gig, whatever, you get paid. Instead of them paying it to a check in your name, you write a check in the name of your trust. That it immediately removes it from being income and turns it into cash flow because it is not touching your hands. It is going to a pass-through or into a warehouse. And what money you put into a warehouse is not taxable. It's cash flow. So when you take that money and put it into a trust account is automatically non-taxable. It is tax exempt. So there are people right now who are in real estate investment and they have to pay capital gains tax on properties they sell and all these different type of things. Having a trust removes all tax liability, so you are not taxed capital gains. You're not taxed on profit. You can actually sell and buy assets in the name of a trust without having any personal liability. So you will pay no taxes. However, being the trustee of a trust account, which is what Bill and Melinda Gates are, which was what the Obamas are. They have the Obama Foundation. It's actually the Obama Foundation and Trust. It's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Trust. They just don't tell you that. It is a trust that they put money in, that they are the trustees of. And a trustee is someone who controls the flow of assets. They control the assets. They don't own them. So you don't own the trust, but you control the trust. And you put all of your money into the trust, and from there, your assets are protected like a house. You can put a house in a trust. It does not belong to you. It belongs to the trust and the beneficiaries. So they cannot come after you and take your house if you owe a debt, so to speak. They cannot come after the kids or the beneficiaries, whoever they are, and try to get the house from them for a debt that they allegedly owe. They can't do it. The trust makes everything bulletproof, ironclad, like Fort Knox. So this is the final piece of the puzzle where all of these assets that you are purchasing with your money that is earning you money, right? The money that earns you money, you're spending that money to buy assets and you're holding them in trust. So that way you don't own anything. Own nothing, control everything. That is the name of the game. And here's the other part of that. A trust can own the life insurance policy. So when you die, when the family member dies or whatever else, that money goes right into the trust and it just keeps making that generational wealth pool bigger and bigger. What you got to add to that, David?
What I have to add is, actually, you covered you covered.
What's
pretty,
the other slides?
well,
The other slides is just talking
we
about.
didn't. Oh, okay, yeah, right.
I talked about the trust a little bit,
Yeah,
but
we talked about the trust a little bit. Do you want us to get into a little bit of the trust, kind of?
yeah, actually, and what we can do is I talked about it briefly a little bit, but Deshaun has a good question. If you could post that, please. He says, are precious metals like gold and silver considered assets? Not ETFs or stocks and all the metals, but actual metals I'm referring to. And if they are considered assets, can I put them in my trust? 100% yes.
Yeah,
they
you
are
can put
considered
anything
assets.
in the trust. You can put yourself in the trust.
You can put yourself in the trust. We'll talk about that later. That's a whole nother. That's a whole nother conversation, y'all. Y'all don't. I don't know if y'all ready for all of that yet.
That's another.
We gotta warm y'all
webinar.
up to that stuff. But there's ways to protect yourself. Okay, so you ever heard of a trust fund kid? Why these kids can get away with bloody murder? They can destroy property and get arrested and never actually go to jail and serve time. There's a reason why. They can get arrested or they can't get arrested. I don't want to get into that on this conversation, on this call right now.
Yeah,
but there's a reason why some people's kids don't get hurt or beat up, or certain people don't get affected when they are dealt with force by the police and stuff like that.
Right. And as it pertains to the trust, you have to. There's a certain kind of trust that you have to have. Some people call it a bulletproof trust, but in reality, it's what's called an ecclesiastical trust. The trust would have to be in the name
Irrevocable ecclesiastical.
irrevocable ecclesiastical trust. The trust would have to be in the name of a ministry for
Well,
doing
it
well.
don't have to
It
be,
doesn't. It
but
doesn't have to be, but it doesn't have to be. Excuse me, but one of the best ways
yes.
to avoid taxes is to ensure that it is, at least connected to sort of something a benevolent sort of association, so to
Whether it's
speak.
outreach, like a
Right.
foundation and trust,
Right.
those type of names is considered benevolence, right? Where they give grants and they do. Yeah, yo, Eddie. There's some, like I said, we found a lot of stuff that people they're gonna say this is crazy, this is not true, this is not real. We're living it. Like we're actually helping people set up these trusts. We're actually in the process of getting the contracts with these life insurance companies, so that way we can help people with policies. Now, yeah. So so here's what I'm gonna tell every musician, singer, wife of a musician, whatever, husband of a singer or a musician.
Get a trust.
You should have a trust for your music and your business, and then you should have a trust for your family. Not only that, but you should have a life insurance policy that the trust owns on every single person in your family. So that way you can borrow all of any money you put into any of those policies you can take out of. So you're literally creating your own banks with no tax, no IRS, nothing. You don't have to report anything to the IRS. Like
Right.
it's literally invisible to the IRS.
Right, and you could essentially refinance your house and use
Take
that
all of
cash.
that equity out,
You
put
could
it
take
into the
that
life
act-
insurance
and put
policy,
it into the life insurance policy.
and then pay it off if you want. And now you have the policy sitting there with whatever equity. Like, there's ways to make money move that makes money work for you, but nobody ever told us this, and so we kind of figured this out. We just started putting things together, created a system. So we have the life insurance part. So here's what I would tell anybody: if you are a musician, you need to be a life insurance agent. She's an LOL if you want. Yeah, if you want.
Listen,
I'm going to tell a musician, a singer, artist, you should get your life insurance license. I'm telling you, just this should be something that everybody, if you're a traveling musician or if you're a stationary one, you got a solid gig every week or whatever, get a life insurance license. Not all the other stuff. You don't have to worry about health insurance if you don't want an accident and medical and blah blah blah. Just life insurance if you can. Like in the state of New York, we applied just for life insurance agent. Life insurance license. That's it. No health, no medical. I don't have to deal with Medicaid and securities, and I don't want, like, certain companies will make you do that, like Primerica does, where like you got to get a securities license and because they're selling IRAs and blah blah blah. We're not doing none of that stuff because the IRA is not the best type of account. We found out a whole life policy does the same thing as an IRA, but there's no tax. If you take your money out of an IRA before you retire, you get taxed on that money, and there's a penalty. So, and yes, like I said, IRAs do earn high percentage, but so do these whole life insurance policies. They are only a guaranteed minimum 4% when the market is at bottom and these IRAs aren't producing anything, or the 401ks aren't producing anything. You're still getting a guaranteed 4% minimum. That's why we use these accounts over everything else. So I would advise you to get your life insurance license and then come talk to us so that way we can put you on. Because then you can go around to all of the other musicians that you know, give them life insurance policies, teach them how to create their own banks, help them set up their own trusts, and help them, because you get a commission. Every
Right.
policy you set up, you get paid.
And
So
I always
why
say
not?
this: let's just be realistic. The reality of being a musician is that everybody is not. There's a chance that there are certain things that everybody's not going to be able to do as it pertains to music. Like some people want to be a traveling musician, some people want to be session musicians. Everybody is not going to be able to do everything. So there may come a time where you're strapped for money or cash flow rather, and then you're going to look at it and say, oh well, I don't have any gigs coming in. Like, now, God bless if you have a steady gig, like you're blessed. Some people don't have a steady gig or a steady situation. So what this does is this creates, compound interest for you. You are your own bank. You don't have to worry about going to the bank to borrow money. You don't have to worry about you know going to the car dealership trying to uh excuse me. You don't have to worry about trying to get an auto loan that you never see the money in the first place, and you're paying back money that you've never seen. Uh, it's just there's so many different ways, and that's something I wanted to. That's something that I wanted to touch on too a little bit. But I guess we can do that, another time because it's sort of involved. But
Oh, about buying stuff without.
right,
Oh, about the money?
right, yeah,
Nah, I don't want to get into that with them just
Yeah,
yet
yeah,
because
yeah.
they might not be ready for that.
Right,
I
right.
mean, like, because how
Right.
money works is so
yeah. So it's so
it's so wild. It's
so wild,
not
right.
even funny.
Yeah.
Eddie, don't do that. Eddie, I see Eddie said I'm going back to Primerica. Don't do that.
Don't-
Talk to us first.
don't go to Primerica.
I'm being.
go
I
Primerica.
I was signed up with them. My brother was signed up with them. Like, I don't have it. Listen, I want to be clear. If anybody else is in Primerica, God bless you. I'm not against y'all. I'm not against Primerica. I just found something that was better than what they offered. That's in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
because
there's a lot of people I'm
Primerica
sure
does
that
not
were.
offer
Yeah.
mutual companies that will pay compound dividend paying interest.
Nah, like I said, with Primerica, you can't borrow that money, and if you do, you get penalized for it and you get taxed.
Right.
So
And it's your money, so
Yeah.
why shouldn't you be able to borrow it?
So that's the only thing. That's the only reason why I didn't continue with them was once I found this, I was like, wait a minute. With this money, I can't touch it until I retire. But with this other account, I can get this thing set up right now, and I can borrow the money. No sooner as I put it in there, I can take it out of it and not be penalized and not have to pay taxes on that money, and it still accrues. Like, see, with Primerica accounts, those IRAs, if you take money from it, your account drops. If you borrow it, it literally drops, and you have to pay it back. With this other policy, if you decide not to pay it back, you don't have to. It'll just come out the death benefit at the end. Like, so when you die and it gets paid out, they'll take that loan back first, and then they'll pay out whatever's left of your death benefit. So say you got a $2 million
which is still
death
going to be a
benefit.
lot of money too.
Yeah, well, say you got a $2 million death benefit, and you've borrowed $1 million over the span of 20 or 30 years, right? And you've taken that money out and never paid it back. Then what happens is when you die is they take that money back first, that $1 million, and then your family or your beneficiaries will be paid out the other $1 million. That's all. So, it's like, so to me, it was just, it's a very different way of looking at it. And they just didn't have the structure that fit what we were doing. So I connected with a guy who's, he calls himself the Infinite Wealth Strategist. And he has contracts with life insurance companies, mutual life insurance companies around the country.
Right.
We can do this in the United States, the 50 United States, and Puerto Rico, and I believe the U.S. territories, where you can like sell life insurance and whatever else. But the object, like what I tell people is this: as a musician, this is a good way for you to not have to work a 9 to 5 because you're always out talking with people, you're conversing, you're traveling, whatever else. I mean, we even teach people how to do sessions like this where you can do seminars. You can do a music and money seminar where you do a live set with your own music, your whatever, and then teach on money. Like there's ways, like I'm a marketer by trade. This was a hobby, and I actually like fired myself from my marketing job to do this full time. This is my passion. I love teaching people this information because I love seeing the light bulbs come on, and I love seeing the scales fall off of people's eyes to say, oh, I didn't know this was possible. Yes, this is very possible. As someone who's a musician and a minister, my object is to serve God, serve his people, and that's how I serve God. I serve and love God by serving and loving his people. And this is the way that I can do it. We can do
Right.
it the best way we can.
And I believe that God wants us all to learn this information. How much do you?
Not long at all. In fact, most policies, it depends on how much you put in. I'll be honest about that. If you're only going to put in $1,000, you're not going to look to borrow $5,000. Like it's not going to be possible. If you put in $1,000, you'll be able to take out 600. Like it's at that number, it's like 60% of the cash value. You put in $100,000, you'll be able to borrow like 80 to 90% of that money. Oh, thank you. We
Oh,
appreciate
thank you,
that.
Eddie. We appreciate you
Yeah, man. We
joining.
appreciate you being here. And so it just depends on how much you're going to be able to fund the account with. So that's why we teach people about the credit part. Some people say, I don't have a lot of money. I'm working my job. I only pay my bills. Not a problem. We have a plan for that. We'll show you how to pay your bills and fund your account as well, because you can put money in and borrow. So we'll show you how to make those numbers work. If that's what you want to do, we can show you that. So that way you can start to build an account where you might be putting in $500 a month. Well, guess what? After 10 months, you got $5,000 in there. So say you want to go and buy something, you can borrow $5,000. Like it's literally is that simple. After 6 months or 10 months, you got $5,000. You can take that money out and go buy something, and that money is still accruing interest at $5,000. So it's just there's ways to make things work. There's ways to make things work, and so we're happy to work with anybody. So right now, what we want to do is, Dave, you can stop sharing the screen. We're gonna open it up to questions. We're gonna do like 10 minutes of question and answer. If you guys
please join our group. Please join our free group. Connect with us on Facebook. Wealth Transfer Society.
If you go to wealthtransfersociety.com/group, you will go to a page. You just put in the information, and you'll be sent to our Facebook group page. So it's Wealth Transfer Society /group. Wealthtransfersociety.com /group. And that will take you to our Facebook group where we share information on this. We do live videos like this. We talk about certain subjects, and we give a little bit more information about money and how it works, and how it's created.
Right, and we have conversations about that. Feel free to post about anything that you may learn. It's just a group of like-minded people who are trying to advance. I know the difficulty that people have with changing from what they've been taught. It's not always easy, because you usually start out with kind of anger, because like, man, everything I've been told was a lie, and and then once you get past that anger, you gain ultimate motivation to try and figure out how you can remedy it, and how you can move forward. So I'm just glad that you guys have us on.
So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat or the comments below, and we'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. And like I said,
if you want, email. What is it? Wealth Transfer Secrets. I have to change that name.
It's Wealth Transfer Secrets at Gmail.
Yeah, wealthtransfersecrets@gmail.com. You can also email us your questions as well. wealthtransfersecrets@gmail.com.
Yep. So yeah, any questions? By all means, put them in the chat. I don't know how many people are still live, but if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments right now, and we will answer them for you. We're more than happy to answer any questions you have. And if you're interested in, like I said, getting started, then just send us an email, Wealth Transfer Secrets, if you want to reach out to us and have a conversation. We don't charge for consultations or nothing like that. We just want to talk to people and see if we can help you. If we can help you, great. If we can't, we'll let you know and see if we can find somebody who can. Any questions, anybody? If not,
any questions, comments, commentary?
I know it's a lot, guys. They're probably like overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's a lot of information.
They're probably overwhelmed. But okay, is it smart to do a? Awesome, thank you.
What you say?
Is it smart to do a balance transfer from one credit card to another credit card with a lower APR to pay it off faster? Yes.
Yeah, but the idea is not even to necessarily pay it off.
No, that was the second part.
Yeah, the idea is to really just have perpetual credit and use that to your advantage. Really, like I stated before, what happens is the whole point is to have like a lot of credit. Like we know people that have millions of dollars in credit. The whole point is to use very little of it. Like usually with credit cards, The standard is like 30%. So, you want to keep it at that. I mean, you can pay it down,
I tell
but
people lower, man.
we,
If you
we
want your
said
score to really be strong, don't pay off the card.
don't pay
Okay,
don't pay it off. Just keep it down.
transfer the
And then transfer the
balance,
balance.
and then pay it down to like, if you can, 10%. 20% is good. Like really, 19% is the number where they start like it starts affecting your credit score. But if you can keep it 10% or under 19% of the total value, so say you got $10,000, then keep it at like $1,000 as far as a balance is concerned. Don't have any more than 19%. No, like you shouldn't have any more than $2,000 sitting on that card at any one time, because that affects your usage. Depends on how much credit usage you have. Like how many cards do you have? What is the total value of all
Right.
of those cards? When your usage goes up.
Right. Well,
Oh no. He said don't get the card and not use it. No, use it.
no, use it. That's what it's for.
Use it.
You got to use
It's
it.
free money. I'm telling you, use it. But
It is free money.
here's the way to use a credit card. If you get the card, spend only a certain amount. Like I said, don't spend over 20%
Well,
of
the
the value
standard,
of the card.
yeah, the standard is sort of like 30%, depending upon what the limit is. Like if you
Yeah.
have $1,000 credit card, don't use any more than like 300.
Right. So
Well, actually, no, like more like 250. But yeah, in that essence,
But-
more like 250
use the card and then pay it off.
because you're going to use your money anyway.
Right.
So you might as well use the card and pay it back.
Say you got to get gas, right? And say you spend right now, gas is going up. So say you got to fill it up once a week. You're gonna spend $50 on gas a week. That's $200 a month. Pay when you go get gas. Swipe the card, get the $50, fill up your tank, or $40, whatever. Fill up your tank, and then a couple of days, send in the money. You don't use credit when you don't have money. That's not how you use credit.
That's the
You
worst
don't-
way to use it.
That's the worst way to use it. I'm going to tell you right now. If you don't have the money in your pocket to buy the thing, do not use the card. You don't use it like, well, I'll have money in 2 or 3 months. You're going to tear your credit up. Don't do it. Go, if you have $50 to buy gas in your debit card, go swipe your credit card. And then in a couple of days, transfer the money and pay that credit card off. So that way you don't have a balance recurring every single month. That way you don't pay any interest. It's zero interest on the money paid off before the next due date. You only pay interest on a balance that is carried over. So what you want to do is make sure you don't spend more than 30% of the card value, and you want to pay it off as soon as possible. And if you do that, your credit score will skyrocket.
Do that for 6 months. Well,
Do that
not
for
even
6 months?
3 months.
3 months, you'll have a strong credit profile. Do that with multiple cards. So say your bills are $1,000, or say your bills are $3,000 a month, and you got a bunch of credit cards. Pay your bills with the credit cards. And then in a couple of days, send in the cash and pay it off. That way, because you still got to pay the bill. But now you have free money that they're giving you to use up front. You pay it off early, and now you're building your credit. You're building your credit, and you're paying your bills. We have to use kill multiple birds with one stone, so to speak.
Right. And the second part of that is you're going to use your own money anyway. So you might as well use the card to build the credit.
That's all.
And then
Might
what'll
as well
start
use the
happening
card.
is you'll be getting a bunch of pre-approvals and all of that. Like, listen, we recommend that you have like up to 10 cards if you can,
Because that shows a strong credit profile.
Right.
There you go. And if you get rewards, you get points or cash that you can.
Right.
This is how the wealthy do it. They got points for days because
Yeah,
they don't
pay. They don't pay cash for anything.
they don't spend their money. But that's what we have to get out of the mindset of cash is king. It's not. Credit is king.
Because, like I said earlier, when they start using crypto as currency, credit is still going to have a dollar sign in front of it. Credit is still going to be king, no matter what currency is going on. There's always going to be an IOU aspect of money.
Because listen to it, they're even talking about social credit. That's what they're talking about even in the future, social credit. How good you are of a person to society and whatever else, you're going to be, gauged based on your social credit. Everything is about credit. And we can go into a lot more detail as we guys come in the group. We talk about all kind of stuff. We talk about the IRS code. We talk about the United States code, which lays out the laws for all of this, or the regulation for all of this. I won't say laws. But yes. Oh, put a .com. wealthtransfersociety.com/group. Sorry, I said it wrong. But yes, if you get rewards and points and stuff like that, I'm telling you, this is how people rack up traveling miles for free. They stay at hotels for free. They know how to use the system. So if you go to this website right now, wealthtransfersociety.com/group, put in your name and email, and you'll be invited into our group. And we share information like this all day, all the time, in and out. There are other people in the group who are now being active. You can ask questions in there. There are people who have set up trusts with us. There are people who we're setting up life insurance policies with. We have several people who are becoming agents with our agency. Like I said, we have these contracts pending. So if that's something you're interested in, you want to have a source of cash flow where you don't have to work a 9 to 5.
And this is not multi-level marketing.
Nah.
Make no mistake about it. So it's not like you got to go and sit in people's living rooms and stuff like that. You don't have to do that. You can literally go to people that you know. And even if they have an insurance policy, they can transfer their policy to our insurance agency once we get the contracts done.
Yep. So we're in the process of doing that. But if there aren't any other questions, we don't want to hold you guys up all day. We appreciate your time. We thank you for allowing us this opportunity to speak and having an audience with you. And we definitely hope that it was beneficial to you.
Good evening. We want to thank everybody. Good afternoon, rather. We want to thank everybody again for tuning in. And we want to thank Wealth Transfer Society for all this information. I know it was a lot of information, but it's definitely useful. It was amazing as we thought it would be. And I know and hope and pray that you gathered something from it. And we'll be able to contact them further for more information in the future. And before we go, I would like to say a prayer on behalf of everybody. Shall we pray? Our God, we thank you for this day, for this is the day that you have made. We shall rejoice and be glad therein. We thank you, God, for this day and allowing us to be able to come here to learn information that people have been trying to hide from us. We thank you for people like Wealth Transfer Society that have came today and shared this information with us. God, we ask that you'll continue to bless, continue to keep them, continue to keep everybody that thought it not robbery to come in this room, in this seminar on today. And God, we ask that you'll continue to bless them, continue to give them financial wealth, generational wealth, and days to come. We thank you and we praise you forevermore. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. God bless you all. And have a blessed day.
Amen. God bless.
God bless. Be well.
Singing, Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Yeah. Come on, lift your hands and sing that with us. Say it. And we're singing, you and keep you. Yeah. Make
his face shine. Be gracious. Oh, may the Lord face for you and give. Yeah. Yeah, you should know it by now. Come on, all over the world, lift your hands right there. Say, his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. Say, generation and your family, children, children. Yeah, may his favor, yeah, 1,000 generations, family, yeah, children. May his presence go before you and behind you and are.